In today's video, we're going to be breaking down an example of what true consultative sales looks like, where I'll be showing you what questions to ask your prospect to get them to open up and invest more into your solution as the sale call progresses. I've seen too many of you presenting the wrong way. You're simply not asking enough of the right questions to the prospect during your sales pitch to elicit any level of investment from them. And this is a really big reason why so many of your sales calls are falling flat. So for those of you that don't know me, I was the founding seller for 3 global SaaS companies opening up in Australia, helping scale all 3 of those companies into the multi-million ARR range before starting my own marketing agency last year. I then scaled my own agency to over $250,000 in revenue in the first year as the only salesperson on the team with 0 marketing experience. Now, how exactly did I do that all on my own? It was 100% sales. And it was in my SaaS sales career that I learned the most valuable skill of them all, which is consultative B2B sales. So what exactly is consultative selling? It's where you're positioning yourself as the trusted advisor and the product expert in the prospect's mind. You're sitting on the same side of the table as them, and it's less about you versus the prospect and more about how can you and the prospect work together as a team in order to achieve some sort of mutually beneficial outcome for both parties. And once you start looking at things like this, the types of questions you start asking your prospect tend to be higher quality, the conversations tend to be a lot better, and you're able to go a lot deeper with regards to the types of answers you're getting from the prospects as well, which then shows that they're more invested and brought in. So be sure to watch to the end of this video because it's packed with value from start to finish. I'm going to be going over things like what questions to ask, when to ask them, and most importantly, why you're asking them. And if you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram, and click the link below to enter my free Discord community. I'm very, very active on there, and I will be releasing videos to the Discord community that will never go public on YouTube. And finally, if you're an agency owner that's been struggling with sales, it might make sense for us to work one-on-one together. So hit the link below, get in touch with me, book some time in my calendar, and let's chat. So that's all for now, and let's get into it.
So our system, I like to call it the 3-pillar system to scale your GCI to whatever that goal number is for you. Okay, so what's your GCI at the moment? Okay, so what happened here was I actually forgot to ask him during my discovery a very key question, which was what his revenue was. Okay, so better known as GCI in the world of real estate. So when we're doing our discovery, obviously we want to do discovery at the very start of the sales call, right? But I don't want you to think that discovery ends as soon as you finish it, because it doesn't necessarily, okay? Discovery is something that you do throughout the entire duration of the sales call, even after that first official discovery phase. And what I mean by that, sometimes things might happen where you will genuinely forget to ask very key questions, okay? So what you want to do is something called quote unquote demo discovery. So it's as you're pitching, you're still asking them other questions, which are discovery-based questions during the demo or during the pitch itself. And the whole idea behind it is the question you're asking is supposed to be specific for what you're about to show them next, okay? So what I did here was the title that we can see here, and I think this is probably going to be blurred out so you won't actually see the slide itself, but it says the 3-pillar system to scale your GCI. That's the title along the slide at the moment. So it was a very natural question for me to then ask him, what's your GCI at the moment, right? Because again, genuinely, I forgot to ask him during the discovery, which was something that I should have asked him, but it's fine. It's something we can recover very quickly. So just want you guys to keep that in mind. If you do forget any of those key questions during discovery, don't stress out. We can always ask them during the pitch, as long as those questions are going to be relative to whatever it is that you're about to speak about.
I probably couldn't even tell you. Okay. I wouldn't know. Yeah, it will be low because I'm only end of second year now. So first year was low. I think this year I'm aiming for, by the end of this financial, would be 70K by the end of March. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. Cool. And what's the goal for you? Like, where do you want to be ideally? So you can see here, I'm literally going all the way back to discovery now. I understand and I appreciate the fact that we are literally halfway through the pitch here, but because I'm, again, making it so relevant to what's right in front of him, which is a slide that talks about GCI, it's now a natural conversational path for us to go down, okay? So prospects aren't going to push back and ask, why are you asking this now, or anything like that. Those types of questions have never, ever come up when I've done discovery during the demo, with the demo discovery before, for this exact reason. And this is how consultative selling works. Okay, it comes off more natural, and this is just the next natural question to ask him in this, conversational thread that we're having. Number one was, what is your GCI? Now he's told me what it is, and now I'm asking what the goal is, trying to stretch the gap, trying to build the gap, and then, of course, build pain around that as well.
Ideally, that keeps my seat at my office, I guess.
Okay.
So I would like to probably sit at the 120 to 150 would be
Cool.
happy place. Anything
Yep.
above that would be amazing. So yeah, that would be the ideal, would be around that. Yeah, 140 would be
Sweet. Okay, cool. So let's just kind of round it up to use easy numbers. You're sort of
Yep.
50%-ish of the way of kind of where you
Yep.
are to where you
Yep.
want to be, right?
Yep.
And I always like to double confirm what they just said, okay? As soon as they give me a number of where they are and then they give me the number of where they want to be, sometimes it's very easy, like just what I did here, where I can say, okay, you're roughly about 50% of the way there, and then they'll accept that frame and then we can move on. Sometimes it can get a little bit more complex though, right? Sometimes they might be on, I don't know, 70K, but the goal is, I don't know, 500, right? Just giving you a very random number from the top of my head. It's a lot harder for us to work out the percentage difference in that regard. So then what you need to do is just go with an absolute number. So the absolute number in that instance, if they're on 70K and the goal is 500, would be 430K. Okay, so you would literally just say, okay, so you're about 430K short of where you want to be. Did I get that right? They will then confirm, and then we move on to the next question, which I'm about to ask. What's the reason for that, do you think? Is it more so just not getting in front of enough vendors? Was it because of last year's experience? What do you attribute that to?
So it would be probably both. Last year's experience, I've moved offices.
So what I've done here is I've given him two options. Was it because of last year's performance? Was it because of the experience? Like, which of those two options is it, right? And I'm only giving him those two options because I want him to choose one of those two options, right? It could be something else. And if it is something else, that's absolutely fine as well, because that's another reason and another way for us to bring up more problems, more impact, and therefore more pain. But I want to just keep two kind of main reasons, which I had already discovered during the discovery process, at the top of mind, right? And basically say, okay, you've already told me that these were two of the main problems that you were dealing with. So the fact that you're only 50% of the way to your goal, which out of the two problems that you shared with me before is the reason that you're not actually hitting your goal right now? Because that's going to be the number one problem, right? Now he's kind of going deeper and deeper into that as well.
So I was at Harcourt's Homewood. I've gone to Harcourt's Gold now. In my first 2 months, I got the same amount of money as I did the year before. So it has improved, and the different education they have at Gold compared to Homewood is night and day. So my business has grown, but that's more from helping others, and and it's a lot of shared listings and stuff, because I'm helping out doing open homes, and then if there's another listing, it's shared. So your income is obviously halved potentially, from those, but I wouldn't have got in front of those people if I didn't do the work with those guys. So if I was just on my own, which I was at Homewood, that's very low. First year's GCI, I think I was 30K or something like that, and that was just because of their mindset and the way they worked. Okay. It wasn't a business model I wanted to continue.
No, it's good that you got out when you did. But like, in terms of, I guess, like the future of moving forward, how much longer do you think you could stay on that 70K-ish GCI before things start getting a little bit finicky in terms of just the grander scale of the business and maybe
well, I mean, if I don't.
So what I'm trying to do here is help him envision a negative future, right? So pretty much if things continue the way they are, how much longer can you realistically do this for? From like the grander business scale and also from your personal life. And now what's happening is he's going to now tell me about like what's going to happen with the business and also in his personal life if things keep going the way they are. 70,000 is not a huge number by any means, okay, in terms of GCI. So that already tells me that like things are not going amazingly for him. However, he does also have the goal to double his income. So he's going to have to do something, right? So what we want to do is we're asking these types of questions just to create more urgency for the prospect, to help them understand that this is a problem for them now. This has been a problem for them however long it has been, especially for this prospect, it was for a couple of years. And this is going to continue to be a problem if they don't do something about it as soon as possible, right? So we've got to be very careful with the way that we word this question, but the way I said it was like, how much longer can you go for, pretty much, right? And so I wanted to kind of think into the future, how much longer can I really go for until I can't do this anymore at the specific rate that I'm going at, which is the 70,000.
Don't sort of continue at that 70K. If ideally, I guess, to help run the house and obviously her business too, but ideally for my contribution, I would want to sit around that 90. If I'm sitting at 70, like I used to be a land surveyor, so I could go get a job tomorrow for about 120K. I could do fly in, fly out from.
Do you want to do that though?
Well, no, that's the whole point.
And that question right there is a question I want you guys to make sure you listen very intently for. When these types of opportunities come up and your prospect says, look, I could go and do this, I could go and do that, just simply ask them, do you want to do that though? And just see what they say, right? That was the exact sort of answer and response that I was hoping for from this prospect as well. Just the one word answer, no, I don't want to do it, right? Because he has invested so much time and so much effort now into his real estate career. For him to go back and become a carpenter or do whatever it was that he was doing prior to is not going to be an ideal situation for him, right? So what we're trying to do here is, I already knew that he didn't want to go back to his old job. I just wanted him to tell me out loud that this was also not what he wanted to do. Every time we can get the prospect to double and triple down on their thought and also what they say, they're going to believe it more, and we're going to get more buy-in and more detail from them as like why they don't want to go down that route.
That's the whole point of real estate, is that's where I am. But you know, that's the whole thing, is that I've got to give this business a good go, and have the right people with support behind me to be able to do it. And if it failed for whatever reason, I can say, look, I tried my best and it just wasn't for me. I'm not then going to have resentment of, oh, what could have happened or what if and all of that. So
that's right. Yeah, I agree. I think ultimately as business owners, mate, the best thing we can do is put ourselves in the best possible position to win. And then it just becomes inputs, right? And I do agree with you on that. And this is kind of why I'm showing you this slide right now. So our main system and what makes us different is we have 3 main pillars that we leverage. The first pillar here. Okay, and so the reason why I had that last conversation with him before I went back to the pitch was simply to agree and empathize basically with what he's saying, right? That's what consultative sales is all about. And I know a lot of you guys at the moment, what you're doing is when a prospect is giving you this type of information, like, you know, they are basically admitting they want to go in on their business, they want to invest, they want to do this, they want to do that. A lot of you guys will just say, oh, okay, and then you'll move on to the next thing. Listening intently is such a big thing, which is why I keep talking about it so much, right? You've always got to listen very, very carefully to what the prospect says in terms of the words they use and also in terms of the phrases they use, right? Because it's our job as a consultative sales rep to be able to actually have that kind of conversation with them, right? We want to be able to get on the same side of the table as them and kind of agree with what they say, as long as you genuinely do agree with what they say, and make them feel like, yes, they are making the right decision by looking into this, right? Because that's basically what he said to me, was like, he wants to partner up with the right person and really give this his all in order to make sure that he's done everything possible. That way, in a worst case scenario, if he does need to go back to his old job, he knows that he's basically thrown the kitchen sink and everything else at it, right? Which is the best possible thing that he could do, is try his absolute hardest. So then it's basically my job at that point to agree with him and say, yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. The best thing we can do is put ourselves in the best possible position to win. And then after that, it's all about inputs. He then agrees with that. And then that's my opportunity to transition back into what I was talking about, which was the slide in front of us via SMS or via email. And the whole idea is just to keep you top of mind. Okay. And it's because of this system that we're able to generate such high quality appraisals at such a high volume and get you in front of high intent vendors. Okay. So just before I continue, how is this different from what you've done in the past before? So this is a very key question to ask, okay? So every time you have dropped some sort of amazing benefit that your specific agency can deliver on, you then want to ask the prospect, how is this different from what you've done before, okay? Particularly if the prospect has come from a different agency. Most of the prospects we're speaking to in the agency world have been burnt in the past by some sort of SMA, some sort of marketing agency, some sort of lead generation system that they've tried to use in the past before, right? So what they are thinking when they first come to see you is that you're going to be the same as everybody else they've spoken to, okay? Because ultimately, as an agency, we're selling a very commoditized service, at least on the surface, on paper. So it's our job during the pitch to show them that what we are doing is completely different to anything that they've seen before, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is we then need to ask them how what we've just shown them is different to what they've seen before, because we know it is different, right? As long as your thing actually is different, then you should know that it's different. But the thing is, it's one thing for you to know that it's different. It's another thing for the prospect to understand the difference. And so by asking them very specifically, how is this different from what you've done before, you now get the prospect to open up and give you a long monologue in terms of how you're different. This is very, very important, because this is effectively a way for the prospect to give you a lot of ammunition that you can then use later on in objection handling if you need to, because we're getting them to tell you all the positive things about your solution, what makes you different. And also we've got follow-up questions, which I'm going to ask after this as well. But basically the whole idea behind what I'm doing here is to get the double and the triple buy-in from him.
This ideally is what I would like to do, or very, very similar, with the engagement and talking to people and stuff. It's, I guess, because I don't have the volume of appraisals sort of rolling in like that.
Yeah.
It's very hard to justify, the outlay for, setting up something like that. So I guess the way usually appraisal will happen if it's through, say, an open home or whatnot, there'll be a conversation on the phone. So I might have met them in person first, conversation on the phone to book an appointment, and then it's obviously their listing presentation afterwards. So it would probably be, well, potentially go to the home and then a listing presentation. So it might only be 3 or 4. And even if it's ringing an old open home register or something, it's conversation then potentially on site, 1 or 2 times. So it could be 3 by the time you're doing 6 type thing. Yeah, at least. So I would say that's where the difference is the touch points between is limited.
Okay, cool. Do you like what you see so far? Can you see something like this working for you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then that's the next question, right? So first question is, how is this different? After they've told you how you're different, you then ask them, do you like what you see so far? And can you see something like this working for you, right? Again, because now we're getting the double buy-in from them. The answer is going to be yes. If they gave you a very positive response for how you're different from anything they've done before, then they're going to give you a very positive response for if they actually like what they see, okay? If they don't like what they see, and if you're not any different to anything they've seen before, then what I'm teaching you right now will not work, okay? So you've got to make sure that what you're showing them is actually different, because if you're not different, then none of the talk tracks here or none of the strategies here are going to work. So you need to make sure at a base level, you've got something different, get them to tell you what's different, and then ask them if they like what they see and if they can see it working for them. You mentioned that you weren't getting a high enough volume of leads come through at the moment. Do you think a system like this would solve that problem? So this is a really important point here. One of the first things he told me was a system like what I've shown him at the moment, he has never thought would work for him in the past before, because he's simply not had enough of the lead flow to justify investing in trying something like this, right? So as soon as he told me that, I thought to myself, okay, this might be an objection that comes up later on. The fact that he hasn't tried something like this simply because of his past experience. So now what I need him to do, I need him to actually envision himself using it. And then I said to him, like, do you think what I've shown you here is going to solve that specific problem that you mentioned before, right? I wanted to ask him a very targeted, very direct question there, just to figure out, is this actually going to be the solution in his mind for the problem that he's had for so long now?
Well, I mean, the qualifying of people coming through, like if it got to the engagement to number 4, where you're talking to the people and qualifying them, and then it going forward, I think that's beneficial, where I know that talking to someone or booking the appointment or whatever, if it's already booked, going out there, I know the intent is there from the person to list or to sell, and then it comes down to me and converting to get the listing. It's here on a plate, and it's like it's your turn. You need to close this. And I think that's where the mindset changes, where something like this is set up with right, we're closing this, where we're getting this person to list, versus going and becoming almost a friend of them and trying to stay involved with them enough that then they decide to go with me. I think this is a better structure or system to go through to be able to get a potentially a yes or no straight away, effectively.
Perfect. And that's the whole idea behind it, right? We don't want you to go to somebody for it to be a maybe. We want it to be as warm as we possibly can get it through a digital marketing modality, what we're doing here. Of course, in real estate, and the same as with any sort of industry at all, mate, like referral leads are always going to be number 1 because they are so hot. But this is the next best thing to a referral lead, because we've warmed them up so much, right? They kind of feel like they already know you before you even go and meet them in person. So where do you think is the biggest value add from everything you've seen here today then? That's another very key question, right? So 2 things that I want to point out here. Number 1, previous to my point, after they have given you some sort of second or third buy-in, you then want to reiterate everything they said, agree with them, and then transition to that final question, right? So I just agreed with what he said because I genuinely did agree with him. Then the final question I asked him was like, again, very targeted and very direct. Where do you think is the biggest value add in terms of what I've shown you here? Okay. Because again, this is going to be blurred out so you can't see it, but basically I've just shown him my entire system in 6 different steps. I'm now trying to get him to focus in on one of the 6 steps that I have presented to him here on the slide. Okay. I want him to focus specifically and go, hey, it's that one right there. And then I'm going to get him to explain to me why it's such a big value proposition for him as well. Okay. 2, 3, 4 times you get them to buy in. This is the stuff that gets deals across the line so much faster, because throughout discovery, we've made them feel so much pain and we've generated so much impact from that pain that their emotional state goes down like this. Then during the actual pitch and the presentation, it starts to come up again, right? So what we're doing is we're taking them through kind of, it's for lack of a better term, it's sort of like in a bit of an emotional roller coaster, because we make them feel so much pain and impact, but then we kind of show them the light at the end of the tunnel as how this could look if, you know, things do go the way they hope, if they make the right decision in terms of moving forward with us. But we want our solution to be the answer to all of the problems that they have and all of the impact and things that they have shared with us basically during discovery. Okay. So that's why I asked them to do this. This is the final targeted focused question before I then summarize everything.
I think it's the, like yourself being able to do the calling and the heavy lifting and the booking and having the system already in place that works, obviously for others as well, where the touch points, the sending out the videos and whatnot. Like I know that a lot of people would benefit from something like this, and it's just making sure I'm hopefully ahead of a lot of the other ones where, you know, this will increase my business as well as, you know, what I'm doing at the moment. So between the two, you know, they'll go hand in hand. So I think you know, effectively having somebody to, you know, complete the qualifying prior to me getting there or booking the appraisal is the most beneficial part, I guess, for me. Awesome. Yeah, that's where I would say is the most benefit, but it's all beneficial, you know.
Beautiful. No, I'm happy. And that's the best answer I could have hoped for from the prospect. Okay, he told me specifically what was the most beneficial, but then he kind of backed up and he said, actually, you know, like everything is really, really beneficial. So out of the 6 things I've shown him, absolutely everything is really beneficial, which is really good for me. It means that he is pretty much sold on the system itself. He couldn't find any gaps or any flaws in terms of what I've shown him, which is the best case scenario for me. I'm happy to hear that. So let me just summarize everything here that's included, just so that way we're across everything. So number 1, so that's what you want to do as well. You want to then move to a final slide, which is summarizing absolutely everything that you've spoken about during your pitch. Okay. So I've got, again, another 6 points on another slide, separate to the previous slide. But this is pretty much going through the 6 main points of what we've covered during the pitch. So that way, everything is going to now be top of mind. He's already told me what the most important thing was for him. So now it's just about kind of reiterating it one last time before we move into pricing. 1 is the lead generation. Number 2 is done for you lead follow-up. And number 3 is done for you appointment setting. Okay. Yeah. In my opinion, I'm of the belief that number 2 and number 3 will be the biggest value add for you, just because of the time saving, and also, well, mainly because of the time saving, right?
Yes.
Like, a lead follow-up was taking you 12 to 20 hours a week, and then even setting up the appointments was another headache, right? So all of that's gone now, and it's basically just qualified appointments in your calendar on autopilot. Right? So that's pretty much everything there. The final point I want to make is for points 2 and point 3. So we've got done for your lead follow-up, which is the second point, and done for your appointment setting. He shared with me during the discovery that at the moment when he's following up with leads, it's taking him between 12 and 20 hours per week. We then quantified that number into a dollar amount in terms of how much he charges per hour. Basically, long story cut short, it was costing him about $3,000 per week in terms of his time for following up with these leads, right? And I wanted to bring that up one final time, just to, again, bring that to the forefront of his mind, okay? Because it was something we spoke about maybe 20, 30 minutes prior, and I didn't want him to forget that, because that was a huge impact that was measured quite early on in the discovery. So I wanted to bring it up one more time and say, okay, just so you're aware, this is what's included. So you got 1, 2, and 3, lead generation, done for you lead follow-up, and done for you appointment setting. I'm of the belief that points 2 and points 3 are going to be the most relevant for you, or the most important, because it's going to save you $3,000 a week. That's effectively what I was telling him. And yeah, he agreed with it. So that's everything as far as consultative sales is concerned right now. And yeah, from here, we then just moved into the pricing pitch.
So that's everything I've got for you guys today. Again, if you like this kind of content, leave a comment below or hit me up directly in Discord. Also, hit the link below if you want to have a chat with me one-on-one to hear how I can help you get more sales on autopilot. Cheers, and I'll speak to you soon.